Hey guys, Real Human here. Hope you guys like this one.
Be me, Wes. I work as a commercial liability underwriter. My job is exactly as boring as it sounds. I sit in a gray cubicle all day. I read huge stacks of paper about warehouse accidents. I highlight things with a yellow marker. I'm not a confrontational guy. I will say thank you to an ATM machine. My only daily joy is at exactly 3 p.m. I leave my gray desk. I walk across the street. There is a heavily overpriced indie coffee shop. It is exposed brick and Edison bulbs. The music is always some guy playing an acoustic guitar while crying. I go there for an iced Americano. It is my one treat. Enter Tabitha. Tabitha is the afternoon barista. She is about 5'9". She is perpetually dressed in layers of distressed black clothing. Even in the middle of July, she wears combat boots heavy enough to serve as boat anchors. She has this jagged, asymmetrical haircut. It looks like she cut it herself in the dark. She has a permanent, terrifying scowl. It makes you feel like you have personally insulted her ancestors, just by standing in the general vicinity of the pastry case. She never smiles. Not at the regular customers. Not at her co-workers. And definitely not at me. In fact, I am completely convinced she despises me. Why? Because she keeps deliberately getting my name wrong. My name is Wes, a three-letter, one-syllable name. It is impossible to mess up. The first week I go there, she writes Wes with two S's. I think okay, fine, it is a typo. The second week she writes Bane. I think okay, maybe a Batman reference. I do not say anything. I am terrified of women who look like they know how to handle a switchblade. By month 2, it gets aggressive. She writes brimstone on my cup. The next day she writes barnacle. One Tuesday, she just draws a picture of a sad square. She holds the cup out over the counter. She does not call the name. She just stares at me until I walk up and take the sad square cup. I never correct her. Correcting a barista at an indie shop feels like a social crime. I feel like if I complain, they will ring a bell and shame me. So I just take my sad square and go back to my desk. I go back to reading about forklift liabilities. But then comes a very bad Tuesday. I am having an absolutely catastrophic day. A massive insurance claim falls through. My boss yelled at me for 20 minutes. I spilled water on my pants. I had not slept the night before. I am running entirely on fumes and anxiety. I walk into the coffee shop. I order my usual iced Americano. I slide my card across the counter. Tabitha does not even look up from the register screen. Name for the order, she grunts. Her voice is dripping with that signature heavily eyeliner disdain. She always sounds like she is reading my death warrant. Wes, I say. My voice comes out a little sharper than usual. Just Wes, I tell her. Not Barnaby, not B-Dog, just Wes. She finally looks up. Her eyes are framed by sharp black liner. They narrow into two absolute lasers of pure hostility. The silence stretches for an agonizing 5 seconds. The ambient crying guitar music suddenly feels deafening. I am sweating through my button-down shirt. Got it, she mutters. Wes, I step back to the waiting area. My heart is pounding. I feel like I just yelled at a wolf. 5 minutes later, she slams the plastic cup on the pickup counter. She turns her back and starts aggressively steaming milk. I walk up and grab the cup, written in thick, aggressive black Sharpie on the side. Wes, very sensitive. I stare at the letters. I don't know what comes over me. Maybe it is the sleep deprivation. Maybe it is the caffeine from the morning already turning my blood into battery acid. But instead of walking out, instead of putting my head down, I reach into my right pocket. I have a small, incredibly realistic plastic cockroach in my pocket. A coworker named Martin left it on my desk as a joke that morning. I had absent-mindedly shoved it into my pants, without breaking eye contact with Tabitha's back. I place the plastic cockroach squarely on the edge of her tip jar, not inside it. I am not a monster, just right on the rim. She turns around. Her eyes flick down to the bug, then they flick back up to me. Her expression does not change at all, but I swear the temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. I turn around and walk out the glass doors. I feel like an absolute badass. I feel like a guy walking away from an explosion. That feeling lasts exactly until the next afternoon. I wake up the next day, filled with profound regret. I almost do not go back to the shop. But habit is a powerful thing, and my head is pounding from caffeine withdrawal. I walk in at 3 p.m. Tabitha is at the espresso machine. She does not ask for my order. She does not ask for my name. She just makes a drink. She slams it on the pickup counter. She folds her arms and stares at me. I walk up and take it. I nod nervously. I walk out of the shop and head back to my building. I get into the elevator. I take a long sip through the green straw. My eyes water immediately. I start coughing violently. It is salt water. She literally made me an iced saltwater Americano. No milk, no coffee, just brine and malice. The war has officially begun. Over the next 2 weeks, we engage in the most petty, silent psychological warfare known to mankind. I decide to be as annoying as legally possible. I go to the bank on my lunch break. I ask for rolls of pennies and nickels. I pay for a $4.50 coffee with an obnoxiously massive handful of dull coins, always counted out exactly. I am annoying, not a criminal. She counts every single one while glaring at me. She hands me my drink the next day. She deliberately secures the plastic lid improperly. So when I take a sip, it drips dark brown coffee directly onto my left wrist. I ruin a good sleeve. I go to a craft store that weekend. I buy a huge pack of plastic googly eyes. I wait until she is in the back room getting milk. I stick the googly eyes onto the faces of the moody indie band posters hanging near her espresso machine. The saddest-looking singer now looks surprised. She retaliates 3 days later. I walk into the shop. I look at the community bulletin board near the bathrooms. There is a bright yellow flyer pinned right in the center. It says, "Call for free extreme snake milking lessons." Underneath it is my personal cell phone number. She somehow got it from the shop loyalty program. I had stupidly signed up for it a year ago to get a free cookie. I have to stand there and frantically claw the flyer off the corkboard. I get 3 calls from strange area codes that weekend. I have to block all of them. My sister Beatrice calls me on Sunday. Beatrice is older than me. Beatrice is exhausting. Beatrice reads too many self-help books and thinks she is a life coach. She hears me sounding stressed on the phone. "What is wrong with your energy, Wes?" she asks. "You sound completely depleted." I tell her about the barista and the snake-milking flyer. Beatrice gasps loudly into the phone. "Wes, you are letting her trample your boundaries. You need to manifest some self-respect. You need to confront her and demand a safe transaction environment." Beatrice: "I am not going to demand a safe transaction environment from a girl who wears spiked boots. She tells me I am avoiding my own growth. She says she is going to come over next week to make sure my apartment isn't a mess." She hangs up. I put my face in my hands. I still haven't spoken a single actual sentence to Tabitha. It is pure unspoken venomous energy. I genuinely think we are mortal enemies. Then comes the toner incident. It is a Friday afternoon. Martin has managed to completely jam the massive office copier down the hall. I try to be helpful because I am an idiot. I open the front panel. I grab the heavy black plastic toner cartridge. I pull it. It is stuck. I pull harder. I somehow trigger a catastrophic failure of the plastic casing. A literal cloud of pure industrial black ink explodes directly into my face. It covers my chest. It covers my arms. It gets in my hair. I look like a cartoon character who just looked down the barrel of a cannon. It is 3:15 p.m. I am completely humiliated. My eyes are burning fiercely. My throat tastes like crushed pencil lead. I just need something to wipe the toxic dust off my skin before I get in my car. I stumble blindly out of my office building. I cross the street. I end up pushing through the heavy glass doors of the coffee shop. It is the closest public place with a bathroom. The little bell above the door chimes. The shop is mostly empty. I stand there in the middle of the floor, covered head to toe in fine black powder. I look utterly defeated. I don't even approach the counter. I just go straight to the little condiment station. I start futilely pulling handfuls of dry brown napkins. I try to scrub the industrial ink off my face. It only smears it deeper into my pores. I look like a terrible raccoon. I hear the heavy squeak of combat boots walking around the counter. I freeze. I hold a crumpled brown napkin to my cheek. "Look, I am not here for the turf war today," I rasp. My voice is cracking and pathetic. "I just need napkins. You win. Put motor oil in my coffee next time, I don't care. Just let me clean my face." I squeeze my eyes shut. I fully expect her to laugh, or to tell me to get out of her clean shop and stop making a mess. Instead, a damp, warm towel is pressed firmly into my hands. I open my eyes. I blink through the grit. Tabitha is standing right in front of me, close enough that I can smell her perfume. It smells like clove cigarettes and sharp vanilla. Her signature scowl is entirely gone. She actually looks concerned. It is the most unsettling thing I have ever seen. Dry napkins are going to scratch your cornea, idiot, she says softly. It is the first time I have heard her use a normal volume. Go to the employee bathroom in the back. Use the orange soap under the sink. It cuts through grease. I am too stunned to argue. I just nod like an obedient dog. I clutch the warm towel. I scurry to the back hallway. I find the bathroom. I scrub my face and arms for 20 minutes. The orange soap smells like industrial floor cleaner, but it works. When I emerge, my skin is raw and bright red, but mostly ink-free. My nice button-down shirt is completely ruined. It looks like a Dalmatian. I walk out into the main shop. I find my usual iced Americano sitting on the pickup counter. Beside it is a slightly battered black zip-up hoodie. Tabitha is aggressively wiping down the steam wand on the espresso machine. She is purposefully not looking at me. Your shirt is a biohazard, she says to the metal wand. Put that on. It is clean. I stand there dripping water from my chin. Thank you, I stammer. I awkwardly slide into the black hoodie. It is massive on me. It smells faintly of the same clove and vanilla. Don't get used to it. Barnacle, she mutters. She finally flashes me a quick side-eye. But the malice is completely gone. There is just a weird, nervous energy. I go home completely bewildered. I sit on my couch in her oversized hoodie. I look at my coffee table. Beatrice left a stack of mail there last time she visited. I ignore it. I wash Tabitha's hoodie over the weekend. I fold it carefully. I fully intend to return it on Monday and resume our quiet hostility. But Monday changes everything. I walk into the shop at my usual 3 p.m. I approach the counter. I place the folded, freshly washed hoodie on the wood. Thanks again for Friday, I say. I try to keep my tone completely neutral. She takes the hoodie. She tosses it under the counter without looking at it. She slides my plastic cup across the counter. I pick it up. I look at the side. Written in her neat, aggressive handwriting is a new message. My shift ends at 4 p.m. We are picking up a vintage espresso machine I bought off Craigslist. Your car is big enough. Don't be late. I stare at the cup. I read it twice. Then I stare at her. She is already aggressively wiping a totally clean countertop. Her jaw is set tight. Her knuckles are white on the rag. I drive a 2006 Ford Focus, I say blankly. It is not big. It is barely a car. It is bigger than me walking with a 50-pound chunk of metal she shoots back. She finally meets my eyes. There is a weird, frantic intensity in her gaze. She looks like she is daring me to run away. 4 p.m., she says. Alley out back. I stand there holding my drink. I could have said no. I should have said no. I have massive stacks of liability files to read. My boss is already annoyed with me. But at exactly 4 p.m., I pull my dented, sputtering blue Ford Focus into the alley behind the shop. The brakes squeal terribly. Tabitha is already standing there by the dumpsters. She is holding a massive iced coffee. She looks like a goth stormtrooper waiting for a bus. She marches up to the passenger door. She yanks it open. She throws her heavy canvas bag into the footwell. She drops into the seat with a heavy sigh. She slams the door so hard the rearview mirror shakes. Drive north, she commands. She aggressively buckles her seatbelt. Hello to you too, I mutter. I put the car in drive. We pull out of the alley. The drive is agonizingly silent for the first 15 minutes. I grip the steering wheel like I am piloting a fighter jet through a canyon. I am acutely aware of everything wrong with my car. I am aware of how messy it is. There are old receipts shoved in the cup holders. The AC smells faintly of old, wet leaves. There is a weird rattling noise coming from the glove box. And I am extremely aware of how terrifying the woman next to me is. She is staring straight ahead. Her arms are crossed tightly. The tension is suffocating. So I finally say, I cannot handle the silence anymore. You just draft your customers into manual labor. I keep my eyes on the road. She stares out the passenger window. Only the ones who leave plastic bugs on my counter, she says flatly. I hit the brakes a little too hard at a red light. You put salt water in my coffee, I protest. My voice rises slightly. You started it. She fires back. She turns to glare at me. You are acting all high and mighty with your just Wes nonsense. You had this annoying look on your face. I had to knock you down a peg. I was not acting high and mighty, I yell back. I grip the wheel tighter. I was sleep deprived and you were bullying me for 3 months. She goes completely silent. The light turns green. I press the gas pedal. The Ford Focus struggles to accelerate. I glance over at her. She is looking down at her hands. She is picking nervously at the chipped black polish on her thumbnails. The aggressive, rigid posture suddenly deflates. She sinks lower into the cheap fabric seat. "I wasn't bullying you," she mumbles. Her voice is so quiet, I almost don't hear it over the rattling of my engine. I turn the radio down. "Writing sad square instead of my name is bullying, Tabitha," I tell her. "I thought we were playing around," she snaps. She looks out the window again, but there is no venom in her voice at all. She just sounds defensive and embarrassed. She crosses her arms even tighter. I don't know how to talk to guys who look like they iron their socks. "You always walk in so rigid. You look like you were bracing for an earthquake. I was trying to get a reaction out of you. When you finally snapped and left the roach, I thought, oh cool, he's actually fun." My brain completely short-circuits. I stare at her profile. I almost rear-end a silver minivan. I slam on the brakes. The coffee cups in the holders rattle loudly. "Wait," I say. I am panting slightly from the near accident. "You thought our mutual psychological torture was flirting, or friendship." She slouched lower in the seat. She pulls her black beanie down slightly over her ears. She refuses to look at me. "I don't have a lot of friends, Wes. Most people just think I am a witch and leave me alone. But you kept coming back, every single day at 3 p.m., even when I gave you salt water." The realization hits me like a freight train. This terrifying, intimidating spike-wearing barista. She is just aggressively, terminally awkward. She didn't hate me. She literally just didn't know how to initiate a normal human interaction without treating it like a combat sport. I look back at the road. My chest feels weirdly tight. I only drank the salt water because I was too scared to ask for a new one, I admit quietly. A sharp, sudden bark of laughter escapes her. She slaps a hand over her mouth. She turns to look at me. She is actually smiling. It changes her entire face. She doesn't look terrifying at all. "You drank it?" she asks. "You actually swallowed it?" "I drank half of it on principle," I lie. She laughs again. She kicks her heavy boots against the floor mat. The rest of the drive is entirely different. The thick, awful tension dissolves into this weird, jagged, awkward banter. We insult each other's music taste when a pop song comes on the radio. We pull into a sprawling suburban neighborhood. We find the address from Craigslist. It is a depressing-looking beige house. We walk up to the open garage. The seller is a very weird guy in cargo shorts. He refuses to help us lift the machine. It just stands there talking about how coffee beans are a scam. The espresso machine is a massive block of vintage metal. It weighs roughly the same as a small horse. We have to grab opposite ends. We drag it down his driveway. We are both sweating and swearing loudly. We finally get it to the back of the Ford Focus. I have to fold down the back seats. There are empty grocery bags and a stray Tupperware container back there. Tabitha kicks the Tupperware out of the way. We heave the heavy metal machine into the trunk. My car visibly sags in the back. We drive back to the city. We hit terrible rush hour traffic. I have to pay a toll, and I drop all my quarters under my seat. Tabitha has to dig them out while making fun of me. I finally pull up to her address. It is a slightly run-down duplex. It has a violently overgrown front garden. There are tomato plants climbing up the porch railing. We carry the massive machine up the front steps. We almost drop it twice. She unlocks the front door. We drag it inside. Her living room is unexpectedly cozy. It is filled with tall bookshelves. There is an absurd amount of thriving houseplants everywhere. There are cozy blankets draped over a very old velvet couch. There are absolutely zero satanic altars. It just looks like a normal, messy apartment. "Put it on the counter," she orders. She points to the small kitchen. We heave it onto the Formica countertop. I step back. I wipe my sweaty forehead with the back of my hand. My back hurts. I brush some rust off my shirt. "All right," I say. "Well, good luck with the machine, Tabitha." I turn and walk toward the front door. I expect a grunt of acknowledgement, or maybe just silence. Instead, I hear her heavy boots stomp across the floorboards. She steps right in front of me. She blocks the exit. She crosses her arms again. She looks up at me with that intense glare. "What time are you off tomorrow?" she demands. I say. I blink at her. 5, I guess." "Good," she says. "Be here at 5:30 p.m. I don't know how to calibrate the pressure valve on this thing. And you look like you read manuals for fun." I stare at her. What I say. "I don't know anything about espresso machines. I work in commercial liability. You will figure it out," she says. She steps aside and grabs the brass doorknob. She opens the front door for me. "And Wes?" she says. I pause on the porch. The evening air is cooling down. "Yeah?" I ask. "If you are late, I am putting Tabasco in your Americano on Wednesday." She shuts the door in my face. I stand on the porch for 5 seconds. I walk to my sagging car. I drive home in complete silence. That was 3 weeks ago. My life has completely derailed. I never got my passenger seat back. Every single day at exactly 5 p.m., I get a text message. It is always a demand for my presence. She needs me for some mundane task. Tuesday, she needed me to hold a shelf while she drilled it into her drywall. Wednesday, she made me sit at her kitchen table and test awful new syrup flavors. One tasted exactly like burnt popcorn. She laughed when I gagged. Thursday, she demanded I drive her to a thrift store on the other side of town because she likes playing the DJ in my car using my ancient aux cord. She plays extremely aggressive goth rock while we sit in gridlock traffic. I complain about the music. She turns it up louder. She still refuses to call me Wes most days. She calls me Barnacle, or sometimes just Hey Idiot. She still scowls at everyone else at the coffee shop. She still terrifies the morning shift workers. But my weekends are no longer my own, and my family is starting to notice. Beatrice calls me on a Saturday morning. I am standing in line at a hardware store with Tabitha. Tabitha is buying brass fittings for her stupid machine. She is wearing a spiked collar. Beatrice's voice on the phone is sharp. Wes, why weren't you at Mom's dinner last night? I am holding 3 bags of potting soil for Tabitha's apartment. I tell Beatrice I had errands to run. Beatrice does not accept this. Errands, Wes, she says. You are deflecting. You are hiding from your responsibilities. I am coming to your apartment tonight to help you declutter your space. I panic. Beatrice, I am not going to be home, I say. Tabitha looks over at me. She raises one heavily drawn eyebrow. Who is that, she mouths. My sister, I whisper back. Tabitha snatches my phone out of my hand. She puts it to her ear. Hello, Beatrice, she says flatly. Wes is busy carrying dirt. He will not be decluttering anything tonight. Goodbye. Tabitha hangs up the phone. She shoves it back into my shirt pocket. I stare at her in pure horror. She just saved my life. But she also just started a world war. Do you have any idea what you just did, I ask. My voice is shaking. Beatrice is going to hunt me down. She shrugs. She grabs the brass fittings off the counter. Tell her to manifest a hobby, she says. She walks out of the store. I have to pay for the soil. I run out to the parking lot after her. We load the dirt into the back of the Focus. The trunk is basically a permanent storage locker for her things now. There is a black jacket draped over the passenger seat. There is an empty mug rolling around in the back. There are grocery receipts stuffed in the door pockets. Monday morning comes. I am at work. I get an email from the building management. HR wants to see me. My stomach drops. I walk down to the cold gray office. The HR rep is a woman named Theresa, who never blinks. She slides a piece of paper across the desk. It is a photocopy of the snake milking flyer. Wes, she says, we had a client visit the coffee shop across the street last week. They recognized your phone number on this disturbing advertisement. Is there something we need to discuss regarding your outside activities? I want to die. I have to explain to a woman in a beige pantsuit that I do not milk snakes. I tell her it was a prank by a friend. Theresa narrows her eyes. A friend, Wes. We need to ensure our underwriters maintain a professional public image. Please have it removed. I walk out of the office sweating through my shirt again. I text Tabitha. HR thinks I milk snakes. She replies 3 minutes later. Good. Keeps them guessing. I go across the street at 3 p.m. I walk in. Beatrice is sitting at a small table near the window. My heart stops. Beatrice is drinking a matcha latte. She sees me. She stands up. She marches over to me. Wes, she says loudly, I came to check on you. Who answered your phone on Saturday? Tabitha is behind the counter. She hears this. She stops wiping the steam wand. She walks over to the register. She leans over the counter. She rests her chin in her hands. She stares directly at Beatrice. I did, she says. Beatrice turns around. She looks Tabitha up and down. She looks at the combat boots. She looks at the jagged haircut. She looks at the intense black eyeliner. Beatrice physically takes a step back. You must be the barista, Beatrice says. Her voice is tight. Wes told me you have been exhibiting very hostile behavior. I want to disappear into the floorboards. Beatrice. I groan. Please stop talking. Beatrice ignores me. She points a finger at Tabitha. You need to respect his boundaries. You cannot just insert yourself into his weekend routine to project your own issues. Tabitha does not blink. She stares at Beatrice with blank, terrifying intensity. Are you done? Tabitha asks. Her voice is completely flat. Beatrice stammers. I am just advocating for my brother. Tabitha stands up straight. She reaches under the counter. She pulls out a massive plastic cup. She grabs a Sharpie. She writes something on it. She slams it on the counter. She slides it toward Beatrice. Here, she says. Beatrice looks at the cup. It says, Beatrice, very exhausting. Tabitha turns away and starts making my Americano. Beatrice is speechless. She looks at me. She looks at the cup. She grabs her purse. Wes, we will talk about this later, she hisses. She storms out of the coffee shop. The bell chimes wildly. I stand there in the silence. Tabitha hands me my coffee. She does not look at me. She goes back to wiping the machine. I take a sip. It is not salt water. It is perfect. Thank you, I say quietly. She just grunts. Wednesday night. It is raining heavily. I am driving Tabitha back from a thrift store on the edge of the city. She bought an old, ugly lamp. It is taking up half the back seat. The Ford Focus is struggling in the rain. The windshield wipers sound like someone dying. The engine starts making a new, terrifying, rattling sound. We are stopped at a red light in a deserted industrial park. The car violently shudders. The engine dies completely. The dashboard lights flicker and go dark. We sit there in the sudden silence. Only the sound of heavy rain hitting the metal roof. I turn the key. It clicks helplessly. I sigh. I rest my forehead on the steering wheel. I am so tired. I have a huge stack of liability forms due tomorrow. My sister hates me. HR thinks I am insane. And I am stranded in the rain with a goth girl who basically hijacked my life. I'm sorry, I mutter into the steering wheel. Tabitha is quiet in the passenger seat. I look over at her. She is staring out the wet window. She is hugging her arms. For what she asks. For everything I say. For my terrible car. For my crazy sister. For dragging you out here. She turns her head. She looks at me in the dark car. The streetlights cast weird shadows on her face. She looks down at her hands. You didn't drag me out here, Barnacle, she says softly. I asked you to take me. She picks at her thumbnail. I know I am a lot, she whispers. The rain hits the windshield hard. I know I am mean, and I know I drag you into my messes. She stops talking. She takes a shaky breath. I just didn't want you to stop hanging out with me. She looks up at me. Her intense eyes are suddenly very wide and vulnerable. My chest does that weird tight thing again. I sit up straight. Tabitha, I say. I turn the key again. The engine stutters. It catches. It roars back to life. The heater kicks on. It blows warm, dusty air onto our faces. Tabitha, I say again, louder over the engine. I drank the salt water. She stares at me. I didn't drink half of it, I say. I drank the whole thing. I hated it. But I drank it because I wanted to come back the next day. A slow, small smile spreads across her face. She reaches out. She punches me hard in the shoulder. You are an absolute idiot, Wes, she says. She leans back in the seat. She pulls her black beanie down. She smiles out the window the whole ride home. Yesterday was Thursday. I walked out to my car after work. I opened the door. I sat in the driver's seat. I looked over at the passenger side. She had left her heavy black jacket draped over the seat back. There was a random piece of paper on my seat. It was a drawing of a happy square. I opened the glove compartment to grab a napkin. It was completely reorganized. All my old receipts were thrown away. The loose napkins were stacked neatly. And sitting right on top of the dashboard, staring back at me, was a brand new pack of plastic googly eyes. I laughed out loud in the empty car. I drove home. I parked in my spot. I walked into my apartment. I threw my keys on the counter. I heard my phone buzz in my pocket. I pulled it out. It was a text from her. We are going to the grocery store tonight. You need better toothpaste. Don't be late. I put the phone down. I looked at the empty apartment. I smiled. Voicemail tone at 2 a.m. I think I have a goth shadow now. And the craziest part is, I don't even mind the salt water anymore.